Hey everybody, I am with Tom Webster, one of my favorite blogging buddies, and gosh, he's the author of the Brand Savant and a vice president over at Edison Research. He just blew it away here at Blog World. Tom, tell us about some of the highlights of this speech where you were revealing some new research around social media and what's going on there.
Sure. Well, we did a lot of research on Americans 12 plus, representative sample of Americans 12 plus, to find out how many of them are using social networks, why are they using social networks, certainly which ones are they using. And certainly some of the big highlights were the percentage of Americans on social networks. It's enormous now. It's 56% of all Americans 12 plus have a profile on at least one social network. Most of that's Facebook, though, but 54% of Americans have a profile on Facebook. So that's really what we're talking about. So it's a huge, ubiquitous behavior at this point.
Yeah, you had actually written about that on my blog, right? I mean, that was one of the things, is that one of your conclusions was like, hey, kind of like game over. Facebook is just so ubiquitous.
Well, I'm not sure it's about game over. I'll tell you, it's easy to draw some poor conclusions about some of that data. I'll give you an example. I saw an article in the Los Angeles Times a couple of days ago talking about how Facebook was slowing with young people in America, how growth was slowing and they were getting tired of it. Growth is slowing because nearly every 12 to 24-year-old in this country that can have a profile on Facebook does. So, and eventually that's going to stop. That's 80% of 12 to 24s.
In fact, I used that in a class the other day, and I said, hey, can you name a brand that 80% of people 12 up in America, and someone said, toilet paper. It's not exactly a brand.
No.
All right. Tell us another one of the highlights of your speech yesterday.
One thing that's really increased over the past 2 years is at least the awareness of social networkers that they're following brands and products and services. That's a stat that's doubled in the past 2 years.
Really?
So amongst social networkers, 2 years ago, about a quarter of social networkers knew that they were following brands or products on their favorite networks. Today that's 47%, so nearly half. And they're much more cognizant now that they're being influenced by brands and companies on social networks. Those are numbers that have increased dramatically year over year. So we're getting Americans in general are getting a little bit more savvy about what's happening online in their social networks.
Now, there's a big difference, though, between following and really engaging, right? I mean, it's easy to click a like button, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're enamored with the brand.
Well, here's the thing, though, about self-reported data like that, about what people are cognizant of. They are now twice as cognizant that they are doing it. That doesn't mean twice as many people have done it.
Yes.
That's a very important distinction.
Quite interesting, quite interesting. How about one more takeaway from your talk yesterday? How about something from Twitter?
Yeah, something about Twitter that I think is super fascinating. It has ramifications beyond merely the political, which is what this relates to. Americans of voting age in our total sample, 30% identified themselves as Democrats, right? With Twitter, 40% of Twitter users identify themselves as Democrats.
So Twitter is turning people into Democrats.
That's excellent judgment there.
Thank you. I'm proud of that.
Well, it's more a function of the fact that more younger people are using Twitter. But if you think about this, all of the social media monitoring platforms and services that are trying to judge how people are going to vote, that's a bias they haven't even considered. And so many of that data comes from Twitter. That it's a bias that probably isn't even considered.
Quite interesting. Well, one of the things that you talked about here, you started to reveal this new effort called the social habit. Tell everyone about that.
Well, I'm really excited about the social habit, and it's in a sense a way to practice what I preach and give people an opportunity to do the work that I'm always trying to get them to do. The social habit, the report that I presented yesterday is of course free and available at socialhabit.com. But we're also going to be introducing, in conjunction with three very smart people I know, one of which is you, Mark Schaefer, Jason Falls, and Jay Baer.
All right.
Are going to be giving brands, marketers, agencies the opportunity to purchase a more custom version of the social habit. In fact, even put questions on it that will be asked amongst a sample of social networking users in America. So they'll be able to finally do that work. When I'm always telling people, find out where your customers are. Are your customers on Twitter? Are your customers on Facebook? Now, with just a question or two at a very cost-effective price of a private marketer, you'll be able to do that and actually do that work. So I'm really excited to give brands
and not just cost-effective, but this is Edison research. This is slam dunk, take it to the bank research, which we really need in this space.
We work very hard on it.
Yeah, Tom, just great. Thanks for spending some time. And tell us where we can find you on the web.
Sign up at socialhabit.com. You find me on the Twitters at Webby2001. My blog is brandsavant.com, edisonresearch.com, and TomReadsHisSpam.tumblr.com.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Check it out. It is hilarious. Tom reads his spam. Hey, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Mark.